Financial experts online are out here debating whether $10,000 a month is enough to retire on, and whether you really need a $3 million nest egg or a $5 million one. Meanwhile, the average American retires on less than $1,500 a month. Not by choice, that's just reality. So who exactly are these people talking to? Here's what I want to share with you though. We actually crossed the $1 million mark, like genuinely. But we still choose, and I mean choose, to live on $2,000 a month. Comfortably, traveling, eating really well, doing whatever we feel like doing. And it's because once you realize how little you actually need, the number kind of stops being the point, you know? And I want to walk you through exactly how we do it. And honestly, I also want to show you the data, because I think it proves that you're probably a lot closer to being able to retire comfortably than you think. So right now, I'm literally walking around Koh Rong Island in Cambodia. White sand, warm water, palm trees everywhere. We've been traveling Southeast Asia for 5 months, the whole winter. And our monthly spend, about $2,000. I mean, that covers everything. Food, accommodation, experiences, all of it. And here's the thing I really want you to take away. When you stop chasing some arbitrary number and you actually start designing the life that you want, everything shifts. Like genuinely everything. So let me show you how this actually works. Okay, first thing, and this is big, is what I call the big lie. See, big brokerage firms, the ones that literally profit when you keep saving and don't touch your money, they're the ones putting out these headlines. Average American needs $1.5 million, maybe more, before you can even think about retiring. And here's the problem with that word average. Think about a small town diner, like in rural Indiana. 12 regulars, hardworking people, right? Then one morning, a tech billionaire walks in and sits down at the counter. Suddenly, the average person in that diner, he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Does that change anything for the waitress who's refilling coffee? Of course not. I mean, that's what happens when you let outliers pull the average. See, the truth lives somewhere in the median, the person right in the middle. And according to the Federal Reserve's own data, the median retirement savings for Americans between 65 and 74 is around $200,000. So think about that. If the experts were right, if we actually needed $1 million just to survive, we'd be seeing retirees losing their homes by the millions. And yet we don't. We see them walking their dogs at the park. We see them at their grandkids' soccer games. We see them doing exactly what they want to on a fraction of what the so-called experts say is necessary. And that's what I call the invisible retirement. And honestly, it's happening all around you, all the time. Oh, and real quick, if this is making sense to you, go ahead and subscribe. I drop stuff like this every week, and I'd love to have you along for it. All right, so how does this actually work in practice? Well, let's start with something that I don't hear people talk about enough, and that's what I call the work tax. See, when I was still working, I sat down one day, just on kind of a whim, and I actually added it all up. Between commuting, the professional wardrobe, the lunches out because I had absolutely zero time or energy to cook, my work tax was running close to $10,000 a year. $10,000 just to show up for a job. I mean, think about that for a second. You don't just earn money at work, you spend money to keep your job. There's the gas or the train pass or the car payment on a second vehicle that you only use because of work. There's the business casual clothes that you never wear on a Saturday in your life. There's the coffee runs, the vending machine lunches, the $15 takeout on a Tuesday night because you're honestly too exhausted to just boil water. When you retire, all that just disappears overnight. The Bureau of Labor Statistics actually backs this up. They said that household spending drops by nearly $2,000 a month when people retire. Not because they're living worse, but because they're living freer. You get your time back, you cook real food at home, you go to the farmer's market on a Wednesday morning because you actually can. You're not rushed, you're not stressed, and you're not bleeding money every week just to show up somewhere 5 days a week. That shift alone completely changes your math, like completely. Okay, this is the part I think might genuinely change how you see your whole financial picture. I want to talk about Social Security. And I want you to stop thinking of it as pocket change, because that framing is really doing you a disservice. As of early 2026, the average Social Security benefit is just over $2,070 a month per person. For a couple, that's roughly $4,100 a month coming in, every month, guaranteed. Now, the experts, well, they kind of just wave their hand at that. Oh, Social Security? Psh, that's just a supplement, they say. But let's actually think about this differently. Let's think about it as what it genuinely is. It's an asset. If you wanted to generate $4,100 a month from your own investment portfolio, using the standard 4% withdrawal rule that everyone talks about, you would need $1.2 million sitting in a brokerage account to produce that income without running out of money. Let that sink in for just a second. If you and your spouse both worked and you both qualify for average benefits, you already have the equivalent of a $1.2 million annuity backed by the US government. You didn't count on it. You didn't think of it that way, but it's there. So when some guy on TV tells you that you need $1.5 million before you can even consider retiring, he's completely ignoring the $1.2 million that you already have. You're not starting from zero. You never were. You already have $1 million head start. And honestly, nobody's telling you that. And that changes everything. Now, let's talk about the gap. Because even with Social Security, there might be a little space between what's coming in and what you actually want to spend. And here's how real people, not hypothetical spreadsheet people, but real actual people, they close that gap. See, us, for example, we have this small YouTube channel. And it doesn't make a lot of money, I'll be honest. And we could stop tomorrow and we'd be completely fine. We genuinely don't need it. But that little bit of income, it goes a really long way when your base expenses are already low. I mean, a few $100s a month moves the needle way more than you'd think. Like this month, if we're lucky enough to make $500, that more than covers our entire 5-day stay here in this beautiful tropical island. Meanwhile, it's 18 degrees back in Indiana. So, yeah. And that's a thing about what I call the side hustle multiplier. It's not really about the money. I mean, it's about purpose. It's about staying connected to something. And the financial impact, it's just wildly outsized compared to the effort. Think about it. To produce $500 a month from a stock portfolio, you need $150,000 sitting in the market. But what if instead you spent 10 hours a week doing something that you actually enjoyed and made that same $500? You just created the equivalent of $150,000 in wealth without touching a single investment. I mean, that's kind of remarkable. For you, that could be tutoring kids after school, consulting in the industry that you spent 30 years in. I mean, you've got knowledge and people will genuinely pay for it. You could sell things at the farmer's market on Saturday mornings, freelance writing, walking dogs in your neighborhood, or starting a YouTube channel and just talking about things you know and love. I mean, it doesn't have to be glamorous. It doesn't have to become a whole second career. It just has to be something that you'd kind of do anyway, that also happens to put a little money in your pocket. And look, none of this works without one foundational piece. The thing that honestly made all this possible for us. No debt and a paid off house. That's it. We live on about $1,300 a month back home in the States. We're spending about $2,000 a month here in Southeast Asia because we're traveling and, well, we want to enjoy it. And we can do both of these things comfortably because we don't have a mortgage payment hanging over our heads. No car payments, no credit card debt, nothing. A paid off home, it's not just a roof over your head. It's like a financial superpower. It's genuinely the single biggest reason that we can live the way that we live, choose what we choose, and say no to anything that doesn't align with who we are. If you can get there, and I know it's not easy, I know life throws things at you, I mean, I get it, but if you can get there before you retire, everything else just becomes so much more manageable and so much more. Oh, and actually, here's something else worth knowing that I think a lot of people miss. Spending in retirement, it's not flat. Researchers have found what they call the spending smile. In your early retirement years, you're energized, you're traveling, you're doing things, you're spending a little more. Then as you get older, well, your spending naturally dips because you slow down. You want simpler things. And then later in life, it can tick back up a little with healthcare costs. But the point is, you don't need to plan for peak spending every single year for 30 years straight. Life naturally adjusts, and your plan can too. Here's the truth that nobody actually tells you. Retirement, it isn't a number on a screen. It's a gap. The gap between what's coming in and what you're spending. Shrink that gap, and suddenly the mountain isn't anywhere near as tall as everyone made it look. You don't need $1 million to retire well. You need an honest picture of what your life actually costs. A smart appreciation for what Social Security genuinely represents. And the discipline to get rid of debt before you walk out the door for the last time. And maybe just a little something on the side that keeps you engaged and connected. The invisible retirement isn't some secret strategy. It's just clarity. And most people, and honestly, maybe you right now, are a lot closer to it than they realize. See, you're not behind. You're just looking at the wrong numbers. And seriously, thank you for watching. These videos only exist because of people like you. If you want more on this, I've got another one right here. I'll see you in the next one.